So I'll just give you a little bit of a rundown about why I'm actually up here on the stage and what I've done so that you can understand how that fits in with it. I'm going to teach you about how to actually replicate what I've done. So it was only just over 2 years ago that I was sitting in an internet marketing conference just like this one. In fact, it was only just a few days before I launched Wonderful Web Women, and I was sitting in the audience of this event, in this place actually. But go back just a little bit further, and I was sitting in an internet marketing conference. Now, I had been trying very, very hard to make money online for 5 years. So if you have been sitting here, whipping yourself, thinking, you know, everybody else seems to do it so quickly, you know, I've been wasting my time, don't. Sometimes you've just got to take time to gather the information and work out what's right for you. The matter is, once you've worked out how to do it, then you put everything into it. So I was sitting in the audience, and I was looking at the people up on stage, and I thought, wow, you know, will I ever be like them? What is it that is different about them? And then I just had this thought, and I thought, you know, they're not that different. They're just normal people, but at some stage, they must have done something that really scared them. They must have really done something that pushed themselves out of their comfort zone. And so I made a conscious decision, sitting in the audience, just like you are today. And I thought, right, if I have got a choice between two ways of doing something, one way, I think, okay, I could do that. That's okay. And then the other way, which was riskier, and usually with risk you have higher rewards, but it scared me, like really pushed me out of my comfort zone. I made that decision there in that audience that when I had a choice between two ways, I would always choose the one that scared me, the one that pushed me out of my comfort zone. Now, if you remember anything from what I've talked about today, that is the one thing that I truly wish that you will go home and have there in your mind, is to make a commitment to yourself. And every time that you have a choice between making a decision, choose the one that scares you. Now, only you know what your comfort zone is. Everybody's comfort zone is different. And you may start with little tiny things that push you out of your comfort zone. Each time you do that, you're going to get a little bit more confident. And the next thing that you try is going to be that little bit easier. Until eventually you think, oh, hang it, I'm just going to go for a really big gamble here. Not gamble as in it may not work, but it's, you know, the thing that you're banking on is you being capable of doing it. So as a result of having done that, making that decision, I decided to start a business called Wonderful Web Women. Now again, the ideas for Wonderful Web Women came from being in an audience like this. So I was becoming one of those kind of event groupies, you know, like an addict that's always at the latest event. Can anybody relate to that? Is anybody here that would consider yourself an event groupie? That's okay, as long as you start taking action on what you're learning. But one thing I noticed is when I was going to some of these events, like they would go 4 days, really long days, you're learning so much from incredible people, and I started to notice, look, none of these people are women. There's very, very few women. It was so refreshing to find Daryl actually up there on stage. But the thing I found when I was talking to other people who were out in the audience, who were, you know, outside talking about, well, what did you think of this speaker, what did you think of that one, is they were saying, where's the chicks? You know, there's no women out there. I can't relate to their stories. It's too different to my reality. Where are the women? So I started thinking, okay, maybe if I can find these amazing women, these role models, and I can ask them how they've done what they've done, people might pay me to actually hear their stories. So that's where the idea of Wonderful Web Women came. So this is the Wonderful Web Women team. Now, I launched Wonderful Web Women in August 2007. The 1st of August was when I did my very, very first interview with a successful woman. Now, I'll tell you a bit later about how I actually do those interviews and how I was able to get those women to support me to do that. And as a result of having made that decision that I was going to push myself out of my comfort zone, as Daryl was saying when she introduced me, I gave myself a short time to do it because, to be honest, I'd run out of cash. So I had to get something happening fast. So I only gave myself 8 weeks to actually, from the idea of doing it to launching it. Now, once I had launched Wonderful Web Women, within that 8 weeks, things moved so fast that, as Darryl was saying, I had, a list of thousands of people. I had absolutely no list before. Is there anybody here, I'm just curious to see if there's anybody here that does not have a list of customers yet. It's frustrating, isn't it? You keep on hearing people say the power is in the list. You need to have the list. That's where your business is. How do you get the list? It was really, really frustrating. Then the other thing is, well, you've got to have something to sell. That's where you're going to make your money. How do you get a product? You've got to get the list. You've got to get the product. That's what happened with Wonderful Web Women. I was able to do both at the same time without me being the expert. I was the reporter. So I was never, ever setting myself up to be the expert in this. I was the finder. I was the expert at finding the experts. That's how Wonderful Web Women happened so fast, is that I was able to then, after 8 weeks, have a list of thousands of people. With that list comes an incredible power. I can tell you, it gives you choices. And at the same time, because of the way that I was doing Wonderful Web Women that I'll be showing you, I had a lot of product at the end of that 8 weeks. I had recordings of 8 interviews with amazingly successful people that I then had product. So you can see how I'd gone from having nothing to now you've got the power, you've got that list and you've got that product. But for me, and for all of you, I'm sure that you have talked about on this weekend about your why you're actually doing, why you want to do this. Now, for me, the why, I keep on reminding myself every morning about what my why is. And this is why when Darryl was saying that I take action and implement, is because I have very much in my mind what that why is. Has anybody here seen the movie called The Secret? If you haven't seen The Secret, I recommend that you go and just get it from the video shop and have a look at it. One of the things that they talk about in there is a gratitude book. And I had come across this idea before. Now, what I do is I have this little book. It's got a beautiful cover. It's a special book, special pen. It's special. And it sits beside my bed. Every morning before I get out of bed, I open up this book. Now, the first 2 pages have got the reason why I do what I do. The first reason is the reason that I think most people have is, the dream home. Exactly what you're going to be living in. And the second one is that I will be able to travel the world at least once per year with my family and that they get to come with me. And we know that there's money in the bank account while we're doing it. Does anybody else have that? There must be a few people that have that same dream. That was my second reason for it. And then the next few pages I have things that I'm grateful for. And there can be really, really simple things like, I'm grateful for music. I'm grateful for internet because it gives me access to so much. A lot of these things I'm grateful for. It is such a positive way to start the day. But the nice part about it, because I had been reminding myself every single day that the reason I do this is to travel the world with my family. After I had only been going for a few months, I got an invitation to go and present at a conference over in California. Now, I had never, ever got up on stage before and presented. Do you think it scared me? So that really, really pushed me out of my comfort zone. So I had to do it because I had made that commitment. I had no choice. I had made that commitment. But the nice part about being able to do that is I got to take my family. And it wasn't just a matter of, well, I'm not going to go over there and just present. I'm going to take my whole family for a month and hang out. When we're there, we're going to Hawaii and we're going to Disneyland and we're going to go and play in the mountains and we're going to go and see Yosemite National Park, all these things. And I thought, wow, this was not even a year after I had launched and I had got to fulfill that dream. So, that's an important, this is what can happen once you actually make that decision to push yourself out of your comfort zone and to actually implement step by step the things that you have learnt. You have learnt a lot this weekend. You can go and take some of those steps.